Hi, my name is Ava and I'm a sophomore at CHCA. Today I'll be teaching you all how to sew face masks for your friends, family, and nonprofits throughout the greater Cincinnati area. So for this project you're going to need several supplies. So for your fabric you're going to need 100% cotton, and the outside fabric will be 3 inches by 8 inches, and this one will be 15 inches by 7.5 inches. For other supplies you're going to need scissors, pins to hold your fabric in place, a safety pin, measuring tape, extra fabric for fabric straps or elastic, and an iron. So when setting up your sewing machine, it's important to remember that everyone's sewing machine is a little bit different, but I'll show you how to set mine. So for mine to get it to go, you press this pedal, which is usually on the floor. This will make the needle go and this spin up top when you're spinning the bobbin. So this is the bobbin. This goes in here and takes the stitches from underneath. So to do this, we need to put more thread on this. For my sewing machine, you put it up here and then twist around, and there are clear instructions on top on how to do this. And then you put the thread through the bobbin, up through the bottom like this, and then pull it through. Make sure it's close, and then press down on. You're going to want to fill this pretty full. Alright, so that's about as full as we're going to need for this project. And so I take it off, and then I snip the top, and this little piece that we were holding on to. And there are also clear instructions about how to put the bobbin in too. So you put it in and then take the thread around. And then put the cover on top. So now we're going to need thread coming in from the top as well. So to do that, we're going to take the thread and follow these instructions to go up and around and eventually through the needle. To get through the needle, you're going to put it through the grooves here and take it out here. So before we start, there are a couple of terms we should probably go over. So first is the presser foot. This will add pressure and keep our fabric in place when we're trying to make straight lines. There's also on the side a little wheel that has the needle go up or down. This right here determines whether it's a straight line or zigzag or any of these other designs. For this project, all I'll be using is straight lines, and so I have mine set on 2. Finally, this is backstitching. For backstitching, that will have your needle go in reverse, and you're going to want to do that at the beginning and end of every single stitch that you make. This will make the stitch stronger. Let's get started. So for our first step, we're going to take the 15 inch by 7.5 inch piece, and we're going to fold it color side, right straight across. So now we're going to take 1.5 inches from each side, and then mark it, and then go from the other side and mark it as well. So we're about to make the filter pocket. So we're going to sew from the edge to the little line, and then from the edge to where we marked it. So if we go over to the sewing machine, we're going to do a straight line, and remember the back stitch after you've done it like 5 stitches or so. And then we're going to backstitch right here as well. So now we're going to snip all of the threads here, and then make sure the sewing machine looks just the same as when we started. Next we're going to sew from this little line to the edge as well. Remembering to backstitch and keep your fabric straight. And cut all of your threads. So now we're going to take this piece that we just sewed and put it down here, and we're going to put these stitches so they're in the center. Now we have this little part that's up here, and we're going to press it down and then iron this. So when you're done, you should have a little pocket here, and then the stitches should hold the rest down. So now we're going to take this part we just ironed and make the colored part on the outside. To do this, we're going to pull the colored part through the pocket until all of it is the outside part. It should look a little bit like this when you've done it. So next we're going to top stitch along this part. Top stitching is just a stitch along the top of a seam that you've already created. But to do this, it's a little bit tricky because you can only do one layer of fabric. So we're going to have to pull some this way to make sure that we're only getting the fabric that we want. So we go a little bit, and remember the back stitch, and then keep going, constantly pulling the fabric away from it, just to make sure that you're getting exactly the layer that you want. You might have to go a little bit slow on this stuff as well. And then remember the back stitch at the end. Take off your presser foot and your needle, and then push it through and snip the extra threads. So now we're going to take this top stitch that we just created and measure 1/2 inch from the stitch. And we're going to mark this in the sides and in the middle too. So now we're going to take it and fold along these lines that we just created so they're at the very, very top, and the stitch is only 1/2 inch away from the top. So our next stitch, we are going to make the spot for a nose wire. So we're going to go from the edge and measure 3 inches, and then make a little line, and then go from the other edge and measure 3 inches, and make a little line. We are going to sew with about 1/8 of an inch of space from here to here. So our needle is going to be pretty close to the edge. We're going to sew up to this spot. Remembering to back stitch and to hold our fabric straight. And then back stitch here too. Take up your pressure foot and needle and cut the extra strings. Make sure that the sewing machine looks the same as when you started. And then go from this little line to the edge as well. Remembering to back stitch and keep your fabric straight. And then back stitching. So for our next step, we're going to sew up the remaining 3 sides. So we've already done the top, so we're going to go from the top to the bottom corner, all the way across the bottom, and then straight back to the top. So we are going to do this all in one motion. Be sure to lower your presser foot, go a little bit, and then back stitch, and then do a straight line all the way across. Now once you get about where you want to stop, you can lower your needle, pick up the presser foot, and then just rotate it. Then you set it back down, and you go the remaining this way. And then you're going to drop the needle again when you want to. Raise the presser foot, turn it, and then go the remaining side. Then once we get to the top, be sure to back stitch, and then cut your strings. So for our next step, we're going to take our mask over to the ironing board, and our mask should look about like this right now. So we're about to make 3 pleats, and when we're finished, it should look a little bit like this. Be able to open and close on its own, and be pleated. So to do this, we're going to start by ironing it. And we're going to go about 1/4 of the way, grab the sides, pinch, and then fold over, being sure to keep our pleats and our lines straight that we just created. So then we're going to pin this, so when we sew it, it'll be a little bit easier. And next we're going to do this 2 more times. So we're going to pinch, grab the sides and then pull them down. And then pin. And we are going to do this one more time. And in the end, our mask should be about 3 inches to 3.5 inches wide. And then we're going to pin one more time. All right, so our mask is now ready to go to the sewing machine. So when we take it over to the sewing machine, it should look a little bit like this. So now we are going to sew along this side and then this side to close our pleats. So to do this, we're going to start at the top and then work our way toward the bottom and sew along the pleats, keeping with this straight line. So we're going to start, and then backstitch a little, and then follow that line that we've already made. And then once we get to the bottom, we're going to backstitch. Take it off, and then snip our threads. Make sure that the sewing machine looks the same as when it started, and then go do the other side. Now you want to be sure to go top to bottom, even though it's a little awkward on the left side. So we're going to start, backstitch a little bit, and then continue to go along the straight line slowly to be sure that you get over those pleats. And then backstitch at the end. And then cut the strings. Okay, so now we're going to take our mask that we just sewed the sides of and back to the ironing board, and it should look a little bit like this. So for our first step, we're going to remove all those pins that we put in. I have 6, and because the stitches will now hold the pleats that we made. So once you take all of them out, you can test out how your mask will go in and out because of the pleats. So we're going to set that aside for a little bit, and now take out our 3x8 inch piece of fabric. So to start, we're going to iron the whole thing, and then turn it design side out, and then fold it hot dog style, and then iron all of that too. And then we're going to unfold this, and there will be a line in the middle, and so we're going to take from the sides, and then fold toward the middle, iron that, and do the same on the top. And then we're going to fold it hot dog style one more time on each other. So in the end, it should be design side out on both sides. So we are going to take this piece that we just created, and we're going to measure it and mark at 4 inches. This should be exactly halfway. So now we're going to cut along this line we just made. And get ready to put it on our mask. So we are going to take our mask and flip it over, and then get the pins. So we'll open up what we just did, and then you're going to take this here and pin it. So you should have 3 other rectangles right here. And then you're going to do the same with the other side, being sure to leave a little bit of space on both the top and the bottom. And then we're ready to go back to the sewing machine. So now we're going to take this back to the sewing machine and sew along this line of the rectangle that we just pinned to it. So to do this, we want to make sure that there's plenty of space above and below. And then go straight across, remembering to backstitch. And take out the pin as you go. And then backstitch at the end. So we are going to do the same exact thing on the other side as well. So we're going to take this back to the ironing board, and this is what our mask should look like. So we're going to take these flaps and then turn it around and open them up. So we have nice clean edges on our mask. We're going to fold these over and iron it. and do that on all 4 corners, so it's a little easier to sew, which we're about to do in just a minute. So we're going to take these edges, open it up, fold it over, and iron it. And then one more. So next we're going to sew over these folds that we just made. So we're going to sew from the edge all the way to the end. And this will be 4 separate stitches. So we'll start up here, and then being careful to keep it straight. And then back stitching, and keeping it as close as we can to the edge, and then a back stitch. We're going to take it up, snip the threads, and do this 3 more times. So now that we have all of our edges sewed over, we're going to fold just a little, and then fold all the way over. This will cover up the stitches that we've previously made. And then we're going to pin this. And do the same on the other side. We're going to fold a little bit, and then fold all the way over to cover up the stitches that we just made, and pin it. So now we are going to sew from here to the edge, and from here to the edge. So to do this, we're going to put it in, take out our pin so we don't sew over it, and then sew all the way, and then remember the back stitch. Then cut our threads, and make sure our sewing machine looks the same as it did when we started, and do the other side. So the next step is to take our elastic, if you're using elastic, and then to cut a 10.5 to 11 inch piece of it. My elastic is 3/4 of an inch, but a 1/2 inch would work as well. So now we're going to take our safety pin and put it at the top, and close it, and then feed it through this pocket we just made. So to do that, you're going to start by putting it in, and then bunching up the fabric, and then pulling. So you're letting the safety pin lead the way by bunching up the fabric and pulling it through. So you're going to do this all the way until you get to the end. And then pull it out of the pocket so there's elastic out on both sides. Okay, so now that we have elastic through both of our pockets, we're going to fold it over and then sew along this. So we're going to want to go over this a bunch of times because this is what's keeping our elastic straight. So we're going to go forward all the way and then backward all the way using the back stitching. And just do that many, many times. You're going to bring up your needle, snip the strings, and then repeat this on the other side. Don't have elastic? Not to worry. You can make fabric ties. For this, you're going to need 2 2x30 inch pieces of fabric. So for this, you're going to iron across the whole thing, and then flip it over so the pattern is facing the ironing board, then fold it in half, and iron the whole thing. This is basically what we just did for the sides of the mask, but on a much larger scale. So next, we're going to fold toward our center line, just like we did before, all the way across, and do both sides. And finally, we're going to fold again toward the middle and iron this all the way down. All right, so now this piece you just ironed, you're going to sew along the whole edge of it all the way down. So to do this, you're going to put it all the way in, and then back stitch at the beginning, and just do a straight line for the whole time. So as you can see in this example, fit it in just like the elastic did, and now you can tie it behind your head. So you do 2 of these, 1 for each pocket. So now you know how to make both a mask with elastic and with fabric ties. So you can help protect your friends and family and donate them to organizations throughout Greater Cincinnati. Thank you.